Welcome to the Illuminerdi Point of View podcast. This week we are going to be talking about Eternals. My name is Joe Deckelmeyer, alongside Tatiana, our editor for the Illuminerdi.com. How are you, Tatiana?
I'm doing great. I am currently not editing Illuminerdi things because I'm here speaking with y'all. But it is lovely to be away from the computer screen.
You gotta multitask, man. Come on.
Caitlin, features manager and exclusives writer. How are you, Caitlin?
I am awesome. I'm very excited to talk Eternals.
You are also jumping over from the Marvel Watch-Alongs, which you can watch on Twitch now. We're going to be getting into Hawkeye very soon.
Yep.
Very fun. And Daniel, the BSG, is joining us this week as well. He's stealing Britt Baker's gimmick, but nobody's supposed to know that.
Hey, you know what? I started with the three, letter.
Yeah, not Rob Van Dam. Okay.
Hey,
so
I don't care about him.
we are, he's also on the Marvel Watch Along, and you're going to be joining us for Eternals, which is coming out November 5th. Hopefully, if you are watching this podcast or listening to it, you have seen the movie.
Otherwise, we'll just break it down for you.
If you want to be
No
spoiled,
context.
keep watching. If you don't, watch the movie, then come back and watch or listen.
That is right. We are a heavy spoiler podcast. We're going to be diving in to plot line, story details, and everything you wanted to know about the Eternals. Yep. Before we went into the movie, did you guys have any idea who any of these characters were? Tatiana, we'll start with you.
Absolutely not. In fact, the first inkling I had of who the Eternals were, aside from not the Inhumans, because in my mind they're just the same, was when I walked into the theater and they were like offering me that little 3D phone app that's gonna give you all the background you need to know in the movie in case you don't know who these people are. Yeah, there's gonna be an app that comes like at the same time as the movie. So that was my first little encyclopedia of Eternals compendium knowledge.
Did you have any interest in the Eternals after this movie was kind of announced?
Not after the movie was announced. After the movie was announced, I was like, but God, why? Right. After watching the movie, because I am obsessed with learning lore of all things, now I am interested.
Same. Yep.
Caitlin, you write features and exclusives here at the Illuminerdi. I want to ask you about, did you know anything about these characters prior to Eternals, the motion picture getting announced?
No, I very famously on one of the watch-alongs said that I was super bummed about the teaser because it didn't give me enough information on any of the characters. I had no idea who any of these people were beyond they were connected to weird alien stuff.
And Daniel, speaking of those teasers and trailers, did any of those help enlighten any of the things that happened in the movie? Like, did that make you want to go see the movie anymore?
No, unfortunately, and I know it's funny to say, but no, because it didn't once again give enough information. Mm-hmm. But once again, I am a little different because it didn't deter me from wanting to see the film. I was kind of excited because for the first time, I'm going to get to see a Marvel film that I don't know about. And that was kind of like what was interesting to me.
We haven't had a Marvel movie open up in quite a while, since Black Widow, actually, and that was towards when stuff started getting back into the theaters during the height of the pandemic, I would say. Not height, but when things were starting to die down. Mm-hmm. But Eternals is going to be a little bit... Oh, that's not true. We had Shang-Chi also that came out.
That's true, and Shang-Chi really...
Shang-Chi was a new character, too.
Yeah.
New character. I think that Shang-Chi also had a different energy about the movie.
Definitely.
Not even in terms of like the movie that we actually saw, but during the marketing campaign, I felt like the energy was different.
Yeah, definitely.
I think part of it was they wanted the Eternals to have this ancient alien feel to it, and I'm like, that's not enough. I need more than that. Shang-Chi, you saw the humor, you saw some of the relationships, and you saw fight scenes all in the trailer.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And they're almost like diametrically opposed, I feel like, the vibes that you get from them. Like, you couldn't be more modern in a Marvel film than Shang-Chi versus the Eternals.
And Eternals really, I felt like going into this movie, it felt like you were going to be sitting in for like an epic.
Yeah.
Like one of those long epic tales. We got to talk about the director, and we'll get into that more as we dive into the movie. But I think we should just kind of kick this off, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, let's dive in.
Am I just going to go with my feelings?
Yeah. I mean,
Are we just...
Yeah. I think that that's what we're going to do, right? Just kind of dive in and talk about the movie. So, kicking this off, first of all, this is a good point. How are we going to break this down?
Well,
Look,
let's
it's 1,000 years in the making.
Right.
Okay.
Because we all saw it.
Yes.
So, kind of, what was your feeling walking out of the theater immediately?
Okay.
Ooh.
So here, my feeling was that I had just downloaded 2,500 years of encyclopedic knowledge about these characters into my brain over the course of the movie. Kind of like, or you know, you're playing like an epic video game, like you mentioned, right? But then like every 5 minutes, there's like a box of text that gives you the backstory on the episode, and you keep clicking, or on the characters, and you keep clicking A to get back to the story, and you can't. Was kind of how I felt. I was really interested in the whole concept, and I liked a lot of the aspects of it, but I felt like the way they did it was a little bit choppy.
Was it? I mean, it felt like you described Final Fantasy.
Right? So. Yeah, I guess it was kind of like when you're doing the back in the olden days of Final Fantasy, and you have a little turn-based game, right? And you're just like waiting to get back. So you can slash.
You just want to fight. You just want to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of felt, look, walking out, believe it or not, I think that the first thing that kind of like signaled in my head was that I remember in the marketing campaign, they were touting this movie as being all about love. And this was Marvel's big first romance film. And I'm not going to lie, walking out of the movie, I was like, wait, what?
Right.
But when I really thought about it, I was like, oh, I get the overarching theme of love is really the catalyst in the film.
My issue with the marketing for that is, yes, it's about love. It's not about romance.
Right.
No, it's not.
And the focus on Sersi and Ikaris' romance was probably detrimental, I would say.
Because it's not a thing.
Right.
More focus on
wasn't.
like Sersi's love for the people, because like that's really like the determining factor between like Ikaris being a psycho killer or like being like a normal dude. Is Sersi's love for people, and we didn't get that as much as I would have liked.
Yeah. I remember walking out and initially being kind of pissed because I didn't like. I really like all the characters. I think all the characters are really cool. Mm-hmm. I think the powers and the way that they show that is really cool, and I think it's shot really well. I wanted more setup for the main story. This is a franchise that builds things. That's their entire thing. We didn't get Avengers before we met them. And with this, it's like, figured out. Like, no, come on. You had like a decade. Give me teasers. Give me hints leading into this. We've had cosmic stuff happen before. It wasn't like this. It was the introduction to cosmic Marvel. Right. So I do like a lot of stuff about it. But initially walking out, I was more focused on, I think, what irritated me. By the next day, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of really good stuff in there, though.
So, essentially, you felt that way for Shang-Chi as well.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because for Shang-Chi, it was, well, we haven't had a huge amount of magic stuff in that way. Like, we've had Doctor Strange, and it kind of introduced a different kind of magic. But this was more of leading you into a new, like, mystical style of magic. It was like character-based, and honestly, we did have hints to this. We've heard about the 10 Rings more than once.
Right. Okay.
And we know about like the
we heard about the organization, but we didn't hear about the actual physical 10 Rings and their abilities and what they could do.
Yeah, I would say that's just like
how are
one
you okay
thing
with that?
too, you know?
Yeah, how are you okay with that one, but not as far as the Eternals?
Honestly, to a degree, because Shang-Chi was not meant to change everything.
I also
there we go.
I do kind of agree with Caitlin in an aspect that Shang-Chi really does a really good job of weaving into the MCU. Right. It touches upon, and that's another thing that Shang-Chi does really well, is you get to see other characters in the MCU. Granted, you know, that's something that a lot of folks don't like relying on because it is what it is. But I agree with you. With Eternals, it flops you right in to the world that you're familiar with, but you know nothing about any of these characters. And the initial question that comes into my head is, why should I care? Yeah. Right? And I will say throughout the course of the film, it does make you at least somewhat care about the members of the family or the Eternals that they focus in on. But by the end of that movie, when I walked out, I really didn't care what their fates were going forward. Right.
Oh. I cared in the sense, I think I was more interested in the ones that left.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed all of the characters. Well, spoiler, I loved Gilgamesh. I was super pissed when he died. Yeah. Because he was such a cool character. Like, my issue partially, too, is you only gave me 2 hours to meet 10 people. and you only gave me very small snippets of their story.
Exactly.
Phastos' story should be an epic in its own right. You have an inventor who wants to move people forward. He's trying to give them the steam-powered engine before the plow.
Yes.
Yeah, that led to the atomic bomb, man. Of course it did.
Right.
I want to see that build out. I want to see the relationship between Gilgamesh and Thena, because you have someone suffering essentially from like cosmic PTSD, and who in their first answer is, "Oh, we'll erase her memory," and you have the other warrior being like, "No, we're not doing that. I'm going to take care of her."
Cosmic PTSD, or is it cosmic Alzheimer's?
I think it's PTSD.
Yeah.
It's probably a combination of the two.
Yeah.
But it felt more PTSD based simply because of the warrior aspect.
Right.
Okay.
But like you mentioned before that this could have been a TV series, and I think that could have been both in terms of like, imagine if we had like a prequel TV show where every episode is focused on a different Eternal.
I would have loved that.
And that time period in between.
Here's the other reason that works. You can drop hints to the celestial stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, Tatiana, you actually bring up a really good point. Do you think that anything with the Eternals, do you think that it's better suited for a Disney Plus streaming series? And would you have moved any of the Disney Plus streaming series over to making it a feature?
Well, I would think any of, like, I still think it could be both. Right? It could be a series and then a movie, because you could still have the team up as the movie, but the series you need to get to know and care about each individual
Kind of
character.
what it seems like they're doing with Young Avengers,
Right,
probably.
exactly. Like, that's what Young Avengers is probably going to be, like you just said, and I think that's an amazing idea. But if I was going to pick one of them to be a movie, I think I'd probably just pick Captain America. Well, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I feel like that could have just been Captain America 4. But that's okay. You don't need to pick. We could have both of everything. Like, we're gonna have a Captain America 4 still, even though we had the series.
Yeah. I mean, the TV shows to a degree, like with Captain America 4 and then Falcon Winter Soldier, like you probably can go from Endgame to Captain America 4 because he does get handed the shield.
Right.
Falcon Winter Soldier gives you more context for it. I want more context for Eternals. So having a show where you introduce the different characters first totally would make sense to me. And then, yeah, you have the big, like, you have the show end basically with, planetary threat.
Right. Exactly.
And then cut to black, you'll see the Eternals in theaters.
And then you could still have seen this movie if you wanted to without
100%.
that
It
backstory.
could essentially be it could essentially be the exact same movie because each episode could have followed the characters individually.
Right.
Now, Marvel doesn't do a lot of ensemble movies of new characters that you're getting introduced to. We've really only got that with Guardians of the Galaxy. But that's a smaller cast compared to this.
Yep.
Do you think that Marvel did a good job of handling such a large ensemble? And do you think, like, as we got casting announcements, look, because this is definitely a movie that, I venture to say, the A-list stars that are in this movie really are supporting roles.
Yeah.
So with that being said, do you think this film's cast is, when they were announced, did it spark off anything in your mind thinking that, like, well, this is a completely different direction from what Marvel is used to doing? And do you think the film handled the ensemble well?
Personally, I said I would love to see more of their stories, but the fact that I want to see more of their stories for like all of them, I do think they handled it well.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sitting there going, I don't care about you, get off the screen. For really anyone.
Yeah.
Even Ikaris, who I didn't like. It wasn't like, get off the screen because I don't want to know more about you. It's, get off the screen, you're so annoying.
I agree with that. There's enough flavor in each of the characters. What were we gonna say?
Exactly. No, I agree with you. That's exactly it. I walked away thinking to myself, okay, you know what? Yeah, they did something different. They took a chance. And as far as executing what they wanted to do, I think they did achieve it. By having us be able to walk out and say, yeah, I want to know more. Because it's like, great, because the Eternals will return. You know, like that whole thing. And you're like, oh, thank God.
I will take it back on one count. I wanted more Makkari.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, did it?
Not
So
get
did I.
enough in that movie, like, especially because like so much movie had passed and they had not even mentioned, let's go find Makkari.
No,
Right.
she's just chilling in the spaceship. You're like, what?
Yeah.
It was like, you almost are waiting for the cut, like, from the Sonic movie where he's, like, alone reading all the Flash comics and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing in a spaceship buried underground? And how long have you been here?
Especially when your power is speed. Like, I feel like that's like a whole movie in and of itself. Like, what happened to you that you're like, let me just be immobile. Like, let me just not move anymore.
Right?
Do you guys think that this changes the MCU in a way that we're not? I mean, obviously, if I say in a way that we're not seeing, we wouldn't know the answer to that. But do you think that this? How does this impact the overall MCU? And is it a change that you think is going to be big enough that changes the way that we even look at the universe.
I do think it's going to change the fabric of the MCU on multiple counts. I think it will in the magic sense with Black Knight, because this opens up, if they're going to stick to the comics, this opens up Arthurian lore in Marvel.
Okay.
We haven't seen that. Like you said, Shang-Chi is a very different magic than Doctor Strange. This is a very different magic from either of them.
That's right.
Right.
For the cosmic side, we now know the Marvel Universe is built on the celestial stuff. I would have liked that to have been better executed in this. But the fact that we now kind of can assume that most planets with intelligent lives has like celestials inside them, that's huge and weird.
Yeah.
Well, we can't. Well, okay, never mind. You said most. You didn't say all. So yeah,
Right.
You're right. You're completely right.
There's also two ways to look at this movie, because I think that we can judge it for being a standalone movie, but then we also have to judge it within the confines of the MCU, because it's a different scenario altogether. Because, like I said, I do like Captain America: Civil War, but it's a standalone movie. You have to know some of the backstory about other things in order to really fully understand that movie. So this obviously is I feel like it could stand alone as an MCU movie, that you don't really need anything ahead of it.
Because it's so divorced.
Feels so disconnected.
Exactly.
But the backstory of all the characters, really the exposition is so dense in this movie. It's very heavy. There's a lot to kind of like download and get through. Luckily, you don't necessarily need to know everything that came before it.
Right.
But, there's a lot. There's a lot to take in.
Well, my question concerning that, because you bring it up, is did it feel dense? Like, were you sitting there at one moment like, oh, I've been here for about an hour and a half or two?
It's like the only Marvel movie I can remember that started with
Scroll.
Scroll,
Yeah, exactly.
So that to me immediately, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going into.
I'm gonna bring up Dune because I keep bringing up Dune. I'm so sorry, world.
It was hello and welcome to an epic.
Yeah,
well, I'm not saying it's bad, but that alone to me was like, okay, we're getting dense lore.
Yeah, you're in for a different experience. But no, what I was gonna say is like, so I watched Dune the day after I watched Eternals, which is why I keep bringing up Dune. But I feel like
that's a lot of movie watching.
Exactly,
that's a lot of dense movie watching.
And they were both like, "Welcome to these 350 characters over the course of 2,500 years, and you're gonna spend 2.5 hours watching it." So it's hard because yes, I feel like Eternals felt much denser than Dune because there was so much information all the time.
Dune's a part one.
Yeah, exactly. On the other hand, Dune felt so slow.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's been 2.5 hours and we have gotten through one half of one book. I'm going to die. So I think Eternals, I think Dune, did it better in terms of, dispersing the knowledge. So I just felt like I was along for the ride. But at the end of that movie, I did not watch a whole movie. Whereas at the end of Eternals, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm excited for part 2.
What's interesting about Eternals, though, is that I feel like for a Marvel movie, the pacing is a lot slower. Yeah. Now, if you're going in, most MCU fans are going to go in expecting it to be an MCU movie. And I will honestly say, this MCU movie feels a lot different than all the other ones that I've seen.
This is probably one of the most director-aware movies for the MCU.
Oh, yes. Yes. They knew exactly what they were doing and who they did choose. Yeah. And the director was able to actually provide their own vision.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about it. And it's like when you do see it, you know this is Chloe's film.
For sure. Yeah. And I think any of the problems with it have nothing to do with her. She really did the best.
I think they tossed her 5,000 years of lore and went, you got 2.5 hours, figure it out.
Exactly. If she had had more time to spread it out and more movies to spread it out over, then it would be a totally different.
Visually stunning is a phrase that many people have said and will say. Yeah, really, and you will say. Because truly, they gave us sprawling landscapes where it was just oh my gosh. They're out in the Midwest in a field at one moment, and I'm just sitting there
we were enamored by South Dakota. Who would have thought that was possible?
No one. People in South Dakota still are just where is this place? Because
I
haven't
feel there are more memorable just scenes, literally, of how they look in this film than in several other MCU films put together.
You see this influence in No Man's Land from Eternals, which Chloe jumped into right after Eternals. So you see that influence there immediately. Look, she's an Oscar-winning director. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why.
Deservedly so.
But when you're working with Marvel, it's a different story because, Marvel is a studio that is a very producer-driven studio. But I don't think that they really affected the creativity side of what she was doing anyway. But I do want to ask one thing, because Black Panther, Shang-Chi, even this to an extent, how did you guys feel about the CG?
Personally, I think the powers in this were probably some of the coolest I've ever seen.
I agree. How did you feel about the Deviants?
I probably didn't have as much of a problem with them as a lot of other people did, but I also didn't have as much of a problem with the dragon and Shang-Chi that a lot of people did.
Fair.
I don't have issues with CG in general. So like you could just show me like the crappiest CG and
you're just on board with
whatever.
It's got to be way bad for me to really notice.
Yeah, but I will say the Deviants to me just looked like, I was like, oh, is it Pacific Rim suddenly?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I felt like. And not like in a like it looks bad way, but just like this doesn't really look like what I would expect.
The one that threw me off was the main one, how he kept shifting and stuff. I was like, all right.
Well, honestly, that's one thing.
Care about him.
Right.
One thing about the film that I cared absolutely nothing about was the Deviants.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
even when they got intelligent life, and you're like, oh, they're evolving. Like, oh, I want to know what their thoughts are, but they were like, we actually don't have thoughts.
Our thoughts are, we're gonna kill you because we're pissed because you keep killing us. I'm like, fair, but also I feel like you're there to have like a moral quandary and don't have that with you.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
well, the thing is, I just feel it wasn't presented properly. Because,
Agreed.
As far as we all know exactly what was the driving force for them.
Right.
We got it, we understood it because it was said. And then after that, when you're actually looking to see it and see how that actually has to be an internal kind of turmoil going on, it wasn't.
We don't follow them.
Exactly. We don't. Except for one moment. And it was just to see the flashback of the lead deviant kind of infecting the others.
It was
for
more
a
about
moment.
Ajax in that moment.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's where it was just like, man, you guys had a moment to kind of expand and give us something more for a, I guess, middle level villain, because in some ways they weren't villains.
I actually almost expected
you missed
them.
that. You missed that.
I almost expected them to want to join forces with the Eternals at the end.
I thought
because
too.
Ikaris was going to destroy them in this thing. Like maybe they would fight for their own land and their own life too, but no. They were like, I'm gonna fight Thena.
Yeah, they were just honestly, they were like, we're focused on this.
They
and
probably
that's what we
remembered
wanna
she
do.
kept killing
Right,
them.
right.
Well, the Deviants almost feel like the most forgettable part about the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like the film is really driven, which ironically enough is driven by love, but it's love of the family, the interaction of the family, getting that family together and seeing what they're up against. That really is the driving force of the movie. Everything that happened in the backstory with them I was into, but when it kind of veered towards the Deviant stuff, I noticed myself starting to check out a little bit more than I normally would have. However, I'm surprised how much this film kept my attention with such little action.
Yeah.
And this is where I will applaud the storytelling of this film. I do think is taking off the Marvel fanboy hat and putting on an actual, looking at this from just as a movie perspective. It did a really good job of pacing out the movie and keeping you interested every step of the way.
Very well
I
paced.
think it also did a great job of highlighting the characters and nobody felt wasted. I do agree with Makkari a little bit because I feel like there's more that they could have done with that character, and
But
there's so
her
much
fight
more.
was
Yeah.
great with
Oh my
Ikaris.
God.
Yeah, and they gave her a moment, which I was really happy they
Yeah,
did. But there's still so much. I feel like there's a lot with that character in particular. Even with Druig, I feel like there's a lot there's a great scene that he had in there about humanity. But there's so much more to that character. I feel like that I wanted to explore when we were telling his backstory.
Right.
Yeah.
I also wanted that. I wanted them to play with the whole idea of, okay, so I'm an essential. I'm an
essential worker
in the
yeah.
universe.
Right? Essentially, that's what it's like. I'm an essential worker. I'm important. I was made before anything else, and yet you made me with what some would consider a flaw.
Right.
And yet I never saw it as a flaw, and that was something I wish they really kind of highlighted, and they just kind of brushed over it.
Right.
I think what I would have liked to have highlighted is their powers are terrifying.
Oh my
You have
goodness.
Superman without the whole conscience thing. You have someone that can
Well, that's called Homelander.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
But you have none of their powers are just oh, this will 100% be used for good no matter what. That big turn of why they exist, you're like, yeah, that tracks. And
Right.
you didn't have any of them really have Sersi a little bit, but you didn't get enough of an existential crisis, in my opinion, for some of that, because it's I was made to destroy.
Yes. Yes.
Do you guys think that this is Marvel's almost reaction to Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Superhero team that pretty much.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that draw comparisons,
Right.
obviously,
Yeah.
mainly due to the power
I just don't know
sets.
why they would have that reaction.
I mean, due to the due to the power sets, I can understand some of it. I get that a little bit, but you know,
I think this was more than anything Marvel's reaction to people calling it formulaic.
Oh, they're like, we'll do something different.
I mean, I
now.
think they broke that with WandaVision.
But I mean, like, if you were, because
But in
I
film.
think part of the like reviews that were coming out before the movie dropped, especially, you have people going into this assuming they're getting the standard Marvel movie. I
Right.
mean, it's like you said, there's not as much action. It looks different, and realistically, you are not getting the comedy you expect. There's
Right.
definitely comedic moments
yeah.
and like comedic characters, but you don't have every character cracking a joke every other minute. It works.
It's not the Avengers.
Yeah, it's not
That's
the
literally
Avengers.
what you just said.
It's not
That's-
Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's not.
Right.
I'm going to ask. I actually want to bring that up because the usage of comedy in Marvel is such a thing in these
Right.
films. And you're right. This one does have hints of comedy in it, but it's not comedy driven whatsoever.
No.
And that does make it feel different. But do you think that the comedy elements that they had in this movie, because Black Widow is one that we talked about before, you and I were on that show together.
Right.
I think that with Black Widow personally, it felt like some of the comedic beats felt a little forced to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I felt like they felt a lot more organic in this movie.
For sure.
And they weren't hitting you over the head with them. Like some of those moments were just fun.
A lot of it, a lot of it I'll say is it's because it was character specific and character driven. Kingo's funny.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
That's
Gilgamesh is funny. That's who he is. Sprite is sarcastic, so you get that humor. Like it's specific to their characters. You don't have Ikaris. Like Ikaris's jokes are kind of that weird combination of cocky yet self-deprecating. You know, like each of them has a sense of humor that's specific to them, and you don't have them basically trying to out-joke each other. So it's that family dynamic when Ikaris is like, "Well, I'll take over the Avengers," and all of them are like, "Yeah, right." Like, you know, so you have that moment of comedy, but it's not everyone being like, "Well, we'll be the Avengers instead," or something where it's like, "Oh my god, okay."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was, as far as the comedy is concerned, I feel that it was very. All right, Black Widow tried to be self-aware in its
A little too
comedy.
much.
Yes. So here goes Eternals when they were like, we're definitely self-aware. We're self-aware, but not only for just this film, but the entire universe.
Yeah.
Right.
And you were able to see that when they made references to the Avengers. They made references to magic and Doctor Strange and all these other things, but yet it was in some ways very self-effacing and self-deprecating in some ways as well. But it was definitely something where it was like, all right, we know what we're getting into, but we want to make sure that you know.
Yeah, and that actually goes back to using the ensemble well, because you can tell from the humor, as well as many other things, that the director and even the screenwriters care about each of these characters.
That's
They
right.
understand who they are, and then the actors have taken that a step further with
Yeah.
how they deliver their lines
Yeah.
and so forth. So all of that was really good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did any of the characters to you feel off balance though? Speaking of things, I felt fairly. They felt all fairly balanced to me.
Yeah, no, I think that they felt pretty. I think they were just some with like issues so large that more time could have been dedicated to them,
Yeah.
like Druig. I'm like, what is happening in
Oh.
Druig's
It's
mind?
terrifying.
But he didn't get as much time. But it's not like I wouldn't have taken anything except for maybe the sex scene away from.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the
Yeah.
first official not including Netflix
Exactly,
stuff.
that is the first official MCU sex scene, and I'm like, was that the one that you chose?
It felt
Well,
a
there
little
is one in
unnecessary
Iron
to
Man
me.
1 with Tony Stark and that
Oh,
reporter
that
for a hot
does
second.
not count.
No, no,
That does
no,
not
no.
count.
This was literally a well, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a sex
Love
scene.
Yeah, for sure.
And-
And I get I get that they like want us to really buy into that love, but I just did not buy into their love story. Like
That's
that was,
because
like,
we didn't see it. Like,
Exactly.
we saw snippets. Like, A, we saw snippets, and B, I saw Ikaris fall in love with Cersei.
I didn't see her yet.
I didn't see
her.
Cersei.
How
How
much?
much-
How much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much do you think was left on the cutting room floor due to with the romance stuff between, you know what I mean, between Kit Haring, Dane, and
Oh my God, poor Dane.
I
She
love
did not-
Dane.
He was great, but she did not seem that into him.
She
That's
did
what I was like.
not.
I was like, they I don't know if they sacrificed.
do you think that's a chemistry thing though?
Actually, do you think that is the intention as far as how it's written and the idea for it, where it was these men pursuing these women who actually, once again, besides being powerful women, also had the power dynamic of what's usually considered a relationship or that whole idea of intimacy, where it's like, okay, I'm being heard, I'm being seen, I'm being valued. And it was like, but am I hearing you? Am I seeing you? Am I valuing you? And it was that whole thing of, this is what I understand love to be as a man, but the woman was like, there's more to it, and you're not seeing it.
I love that. I don't know that they fully put that in there,
but I mean,
I love that as a concept.
now that I see it, I'm like, I've seen that within 2 different relationships in the same film.
Right.
And it was that exact dynamic.
Do you think that her holding back with Dane was because she didn't have the same feelings for him, or more because I'm an Eternal?
I think that their birthday scene was the best moment for them in terms of a relationship because, like you said, you see that Sersi really does have feelings for him, but she's holding back, and she doesn't know what he is holding back. So there's like a lot of great story for them moving forward. But then
in another movie.
Exactly, in another movie. But like right now in this movie, I don't know, it was so strange to me when she comes back, right? Ikaris is gone now, and he's like, I love you, Sersi. And she's like, hug.
She's like, awesome.
Exactly. I was like, in this moment is when she could say, like, I want to say those words to you, but this is holding me back.
To be fair, her ex-boyfriend just flew into the sun, and she turned like a
Spoilers.
god into... Spoiler!
The whole thing is spoilers.
And she turned a god into like ice.
Right.
We think. Right. So I'd probably be a little thrown off too. So if someone's like, I love you, I'd be like, that's cool. I need to sit down because I just had a lot happen in like a week.
You know, the advertising for this movie doesn't really tell you what the movie's necessarily about. No. But you have some heavy hitters in this film. You got Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie, both of which are A-list celebrities, but also supporting characters for the most part of this movie, especially Angelina Jolie. And I'm gonna say that I'm actually quite surprised that she was such a supporting character. She's a great character in the film, but I was a little surprised by that.
Surprised she didn't die.
That's literally what I was going to say. I'm surprised by the opposite. I thought she was definitely out by the
Well, so did I.
She
doesn't seem
here to have a good time.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like somebody that would. I mean, who knows? I'm just
not only that. She survived and she didn't get like taken by the Celestial. Nope. Like she can actively be doing things in the MCU because she's like chilling in space
with Harry Styles.
Right. And then, speaking of this, another marketing ploy here could be we got Kit Harington and Richard Madden, both from Game of Thrones fame, in the same movie.
Yeah.
Do you think that draws Game of Thrones fans specifically to this movie? I will say this. If you're going for Kit Harington...
don't.
No, I will say this.
It's a misdirection.
If you went for Kit Harington, that sucks, dude.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's so much more likable as Dane than he was as John.
I couldn't agree more.
I came in... just for like, oh my God, all these names. I walked out like Brian Tyree Henry is now my everything.
Well, Brian Tyree Henry is a phenomenal actor.
Yes.
B, like I feel like everything that he's ever been in, I like.
Yes, man.
So like I love
Atlanta's
that.
coming back, baby.
Atlanta is coming.
Yeah, he said that.
Exactly.
We're talking about relationships earlier on, and I think one of the ones that was the most intriguing to me was Sprite and Ikaris. I thought that whole relationship and that pining for him, I was super into that because that made Sprite such an interesting character to me.
Kingo was such a jerk.
Kingo was such a jerk.
He's like, oh, you're in love with Ikaris. And then she like leaves and he's like, ha, nailed it. You're like, what is with you?
Yeah.
I think the relationship for me with Sprite that was probably most interesting was Sersi.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Because like at the end when she stabs her and she reveals all this resentment she's lived with, I'm like, yeah, but you live with her.
Yeah.
That's what makes it
to live
interesting.
with her.
Right? Like, she wants to be near her, but she's also like wants to be her, right?
And
so she's like,
they hint at it from the start with that birthday scene when she pretends to be like a grown up.
Right.
Yeah. It's Oedipus on a different level.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, it is where it's like, okay, you know what? I love my mother, but I want to be my. So
it's like
mother.
an Electra complex.
Yes. Yes.
Something that if Ikaris and Sersi are like
figures, if you can do
but
that.
she's like into Ikaris.
Yeah, it was like wow, man.
Your face.
No, honestly,
right? But Sprites, a tragic character.
Yeah.
Literally, like I'm talking Greek tragedy type of thing.
I had
like, it's
no
like,
expectation
damn.
that Sprite was going to be the character that I was like, holy shit.
But
Yeah.
I
Couldn't
guess
agree more.
that is one thing that I will take issue with in terms of the script is like the moments that were the most, like you said, Kingo coming in and being like, "You love Ikaris," and then she leaves and he's like, "It's because she loves Ikaris."
Yeah.
And I was like, can we like show that, like, so that everyone could have known that.
It's
so that
just to
everyone
make
knew
sure
that.
we got it.
Exactly.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. It's,
Kingo making a documentary was freaking
that was
Oh,
hilarious.
that
That
was
was
genius.
hilarious.
You know what?
And that's a great way to give the information too.
And also the meta humor that he's in there about. I don't do it for the followers. I do it for the passion. I love the like meta humor that's in there with that character.
Or the bit where he's like, well, that's my great grandfather.
Yes.
That's my great, because like
And they're all me.
right, that moment where they're like, you decided to hide by becoming famous. I'm part of a dynasty.
I love that. I want that episode or that movie so bad.
So do
Like
I.
the Hollywood Dynasty of Kingo.
Like,
You know,
give me a short.
I want
Give me
That's
a
what I
short.
was. Sorry,
Yeah.
Caitlin. That's what I was just gonna say. Those Marvel shorts, the one shots or whatever.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen like Kingo's journey
Yeah.
from being one of the early Eternals to seeing where he ends up.
That would be
Yeah.
genius. I would love that. There's so much room for what can be done with the Eternals.
Yep.
As far as like, oh man, okay, we can do a bunch of different one shots for everyone and give everyone's little kind of breakdown. I want to see how Phastos met his husband, how he decided to tell his husband who he was,
right.
and why he did versus why what's her name didn't.
Cersei?
Cersei
Yeah.
didn't tell
Dane.
Dane. Like I want to
What
see
I want-
that
Because
kind
you
of
know
difference.
nothing,
What I
Jon
want-
Snow.
What I want
Nice.
from Phastos too is like his like going from the inventor and wanting to help humanity to being
Yes.
just failed and betrayed by humanity to then falling in love with a human. Because like you said, like he met his husband, but beyond that, it's like you legit opened yourself up to someone that you basically were like, you all are horrifying.
Yeah. Well, he says it even
There
in the
you
thing where it's like, okay, his whole choice of having to fall in love with someone that he knows is going to die. And in fact, the fact that he is not. Like, yeah, we hear that kind of idea when it comes to vampires all the time. But for a vampire to literally vocalize it and conceptualize it in a way that's like, I really get it. Not just I've heard it.
Not
but
a
I
vampire,
get
but
it.
akin to a vampire.
Well,
yes.
yeah, like
Just
that
want to
whole thing.
clarify.
Not a vampire.
The
not a
Eternals
vampire.
are not vampires.
Exactly. But
You know, someone be like, the Eternals are vampires.
No, you're right.
But-
No, but an eternal being or an eternal being,
I knew what you meant.
an immortal being able to say that, and that kind of being the basic issue or problem with all of them, and for them to say it in a way that I was like, yeah, I really get it this time.
Right.
Versus, oh yeah,
Yeah, because it's not just his
husband.
husband that's gonna die. His kid
kid,
will die.
too,
yeah. Yes.
And his kids, like his kids,
His
and
kids,
so on and so forth.
and it's just everyone,
Yep.
and that's it. It's like literally what I am. I'm not a harbinger of death, but what I am, I'm a witness to it.
Right.
I get to sit down in this theater of life
Have
and
to.
watch death.
Have to.
You have to. And it was just like, wow, still choosing to do that after, once again, seeing humanity fail you.
Right.
Still being able to believe in it enough to say, I want to watch humanity grow and continue and succeed. That's crazy to me.
I would also just like to say about Salma Hayek, man, I hope they bring her back. Her excitement level of being in a Marvel movie and then watching the movie and being dead through most of it was such a bummer to me.
Which all the more reason to do, one shots.
Yeah.
Or prequel or something. Yeah.
I mean, her
There's
character.
like 1,000 years there that you can use.
Yeah.
Well, that's our first
5,000.
time kind of seeing Earth in different eras, right? And like
Yeah.
I love
how Earth
that.
kind of
Yeah,
was.
that
And
was
love
great.
that.
do you think that in those past scenes that like for a lot of eagle-eyed Marvel fans, are you think they're going to be able to pick up on certain things in those scenes? Because as a viewer, look, I'm sure that there's things that we can hone in on. But are there any things that you guys picked up?
Easter eggs that we saw.
Yeah, like what?
As far as things going on that time, I'm trying to think about it. Like, really, what can I say that I was like, ooh, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Oh,
I thought
like,
some of
I
the
don't.
location choices were interesting, like the
They
fact that they were
were?
in like Babylon.
Yeah.
Right.
But
It
I
was-
mean, Babylon kind of makes sense. You know, the whole idea of what
birthplace of-
Babylon is.
yeah.
I know,
birthplace of
but like
civilization,
that's
et
I think
cetera.
why it was interesting to me is because they legit went into history for it. It
Yes.
wasn't
Right.
just like, oh, we're in I don't know, America, cause.
Very true, but this is the great thing about, and I'm going to say it, it's a great thing of Marvel versus DC. Marvel always chose to be based in the real world.
Right,
as far as like, hey, X-Men, we're in New York, and you know it for sure. Hey, we're here, and we're there. So why not for the Eternals, where it's like, now you've been around the world.
Right.
Now we want to see different moments.
But it was
in the
definitely
world.
nice to not be in
Is
New York for the
Latveria
most
real?
part.
Yeah.
I didn't know Latveria was real. Dr. Doom's home
Have
place.
we seen that yet in Marvel?
No.
Okay,
We have
then.
seen Wakanda, though,
Okay,
right?
then stop it.
Wakanda's
Wait, Wakanda's real.
Well,
Wakanda's real.
Yeah,
I need to go there
Wakanda's a
someday.
state of mind.
Hold on. Hold on. I will say Wakanda, the way they formed it and shaped it for the movie, is based on a lot of actual culture.
Right.
But Wakanda's not a real place,
Yeah,
correct
no,
or
well,
incorrect?
How do you know? They have a shield, man.
Exactly.
I guess.
You don't know about it.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, yeah, great. Because I would not be.
I didn't know that place that Shang-Chi went to was real either. I had no clue.
It's another
that was like
dimension.
dimension.
I know.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's different.
That doesn't
And Madripoor?
count.
Madripoor is also a real place. That's a place we've been to.
Oh, can
well,
we talk about Madripoor? No, we can't talk about Madripoor because
Well-
that's not in this movie.
We should talk about
I
Madripoor
don't
at
like
some
what
point.
they did with Madripoor. That's
Do you
all.
really
Oh
not?
no,
Yeah,
you
no,
don't.
I
because it's like,
love that they introduced
yeah,
it.
I love that they introduced
I-
it. Like,
I kind of
isn't it,
agree
like,
with you.
South Asian, like, there's a totally different makeup of people that should be there and that were not there.
Ooh,
that part,
you're
yeah.
completely right.
That part,
Wow, it kind of sounds like Avatar, the film. Ooh.
Which one?
Well, the film, the one that
There's
we
more
don't
than
really
one
talk about.
Avatar film.
We don't
Really?
talk
Is it?
about the Avatar: The
blue
Last
one.
Airbender film.
Ah, well, yeah, but the one that we don't talk about.
Yes.
That's,
Do we talk about either?
Well, yeah, blue people, Navi. That's fine. Versus,
Anyway.
Yeah.
But to randomly skip around, I just want to bring up one other line of dialogue that really bothered me, which was when Ikaris walks up to Ajak and is like, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna let my feelings for Sersi get in the way of my job." And Ajak's like, "Nobody asked. I don't understand like why you just came up here to say this."
I'm
he
not
said
gonna
it-
let my feelings get in the way. And she's like, "No, bro, you should. Go get married. I don't care."
Exactly.
He said that, and I swear, it's like she looked at him and was just like, "The world's smallest
Exactly,
violin,
like,
played
don't
just for you."
She's like, "What romance novels have you been reading?"
Right. Like, so, like, I love her response is great, but, like, for him to come up and do that, I was like, do you think that we didn't know this was a love story between you and Sersi? Like, he had to come up and be like, audience, I want you to know,
Yes.
I am torn between love and duty.
He should have.
That is
He should have
be
spoke.
fair,
He should have spoke to the camera
will say
where
that-
the guy was like. Just,
To be
go
fair,
ahead.
he did make the choice you don't usually see.
No, that's true. He did. He was like, duty.
He murdered his mom. He's the anti-Superman. Instead of being like, "Martha, and it fixes everything," he's like,
He did.
"Nah, sorry, ma."
Yeah. That was.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, Homelander did it, but I'm gonna do it a little bit different."
Right. He's
That's
going to do
what
it for the right reason.
You know, that's one thing I will say, though, is that everybody's conflict wasn't, I don't really think it was like through manipulation. It was just through like whatever they believed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the
It
direction
was
they
also
went.
just they were in a really weird, crazy situation.
Yeah.
And the-
that's what I liked all of these different, like Kingo being like, you know
Yes,
what?
I
I'm
agree.
never going to hurt you guys, but also the world needs to die
Yeah,
for more worlds to live.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
I like I know.
that's very true.
I'm sorry, I love the delivery.
The
world
morality,
needs to die.
the moral questions that they all have to answer and the sides that they have to choose, I did find interesting.
That's what I love, because the thing is, it was like, you know what? There comes the question of, do you go for what you believe, or do you go for what you feel? And for them, a lot of what they believed was based on how they felt.
I think
And I was like, wow.
I will say I think my biggest issue, because I like all the characters a lot. I like the visuals a lot. I think that the powers are super cool. I did not care about the main storyline. My biggest issue was like this whole concept of the world has to die for others to live. I'm like, why? I don't like. Why do I care about other weird future worlds?
Hey, guess
I
where
would
I
rather
am.
not be dead. Like
Right.
that to me is such a like huge concept to not have, because
Build
we
up for?
A, build up for, and B, we never got the reaction of, what do you mean there's a god in the planet and Earth is an egg?
Well,
You know, ironically, I actually think that was the Marvel part of the movie, is the part that you didn't like. It was the
Right,
typical Marvel stuff that you would normally be like,
End of the
oh,
world.
well, that's the end of the world thing. That's the. I actually think the movie's more so about the family, really, than anything else. I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm really more like. Honestly, I love the Kingo and Kuran relationship.
so amazing.
So
Like,
fun.
not only do I love it, I think that character obviously can be looked at as a joke for a lot of ways, but I really think that character is the audience's eyes and ears throughout this group of superheroes.
Yes.
That he's just kind of like, I have no idea why I'm in this room, but thank God they are here.
Well, not only that, they're all like, you can go.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Or when his camera gets destroyed and he has like another. I just love even King was like, how many cameras do you have?
That
Yeah.
was so great.
Like he's prepared for this. He knows how this
But-
works.
But one thing that I noticed, I've been speaking to people that have seen it, and one thing that I'm noticing a lot of people haven't really addressed is it was kind of like a throwaway line, but it was them saying that they're connected to that celestial that is being born, so they will just continue on. So
Right.
that's why we didn't see that whole thing of them worrying like, all these people have to die or blah blah. Because ultimately they were like,
them, it's
well,
not like that.
For them, it's not
Yeah.
like that.
But to Caitlin's point, I think that one thing that made it feel different, or like maybe made us feel like we care less, is because other Marvel movies, even ones that take place in space, are always connected to humanity. Right?
Yes.
Like, you've got Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got Peter right there. Peter Quill. He's human.
Well,
he
not
only cares
only
about Earth.
Not only that for me, like it.
Yeah.
Not in every movie, but in a lot of movies, when you have this huge planetary threat, you feel like it's a thing earlier. You feel it earlier. For me, it was just like Earth's an egg. I'm like, that's a weird move. Like I couldn't get to the part of this is a planetary threat because I couldn't get past Earth's an egg.
Meanwhile, I never conceptualized the fact that Earth was an egg.
That's
so
all
you
I
are
got
actually
stuck on.
blowing my mind.
That's all I got
with
stuck
this
on.
argument.
When they're like, Earth is an egg and it's gonna hatch and everyone has to die, I was like, but like I felt like the little kid talking to their mom, but why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we also know that all these things are happening with Deviants. How come nobody's asked the question, where are the Avengers?
They're all dead.
But are they? Because I'm seeing them in other shows.
Yeah, because they're dealing with their own personal issues. The big ones are
But
dead.
this was across like the news. It wasn't even hidden. Like there was literally like a spaceship in Chile or something, or in Iraq.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like
Maybe they just
global
couldn't get
earthquake.
there in time,
Global
okay?
earthquake, and you got like Sam is like, yeah, but I have to decide if I want the shield.
Right.
I mean, we have to,
It only
right?
plays like over a week though, right?
we
So I
do
get
have
it's
to-
assumed, right? Because like
Yeah,
Does
it
it
was,
take-
was.
how
7
long
days.
does it take to assemble the Avengers?
Right.
I mean-
it took about 10 years to get all of them together, and here are the lines. So they may have been planning.
We also got
That
to
could've
assume
been it.
that
That
a
could've
bunch of
exactly
these
been
things
it.
might be happening
like,
at the same
gonna
time, I
protect-
guess.
Right.
And they're like,
Exactly.
they're like, oh my god,
OMG,
Yeah,
earthquake!
Sometimes
Girl, are
big
you seeing
things
this?
happen, and at the end of the day, my friend's like, "Oh my god, did you hear about this? That happened 12 hours ago." And I'm like, "Nope, I absolutely did not."
Did you hear about the global earthquake?
but when it's your-
was that what that was?
but when it's your job, that's kind of
Here's
different.
the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, to me.
Earth lost its best defender when he died in the Thanos.
Yeah, like here's the thing for me with the Avengers. We haven't really seen the new like leader type deal,
Right,
So
right.
it's like,
Wait a minute, we have seen Spider-Man is active because we have seen he is.
Okay,
His
okay.
movie came after the snap, so we know
Yeah.
that Spider-Man's out there doing his
He's
thing.
on the
I'm
run.
not saying
Wait,
I'm
this-
not saying that they're not inactive. I'm saying we haven't seen them be organized since
Right.
the big like ones died. So the ones that usually it's like Captain America knows what's up, Iron Man knows what's up, Black Widow knows what's up.
Well, I mean, at the post credit for Shang-Chi, it seems like they should know what's going on. Like they're all there
busy.
together.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that's them planning because of what happened with the Eternals.
They're
That's a
busy.
possibility.
Yeah,
That's
wait,
something
wait,
that we
but-
should.
But
think more
so
about.
I got to think about that again. This film takes place when? Is it?
It's after the snap for sure.
yeah, but
It's
I
after they all
remember-
came back.
I remember she was like, I think 6 years ago. She says that.
So a
blah,
year
blah.
after the
So
snap.
it's a year
Exactly.
Right.
So it's a year after. So then I'm like, okay. So that's a year after the snap.
Well-
Relative to the bring back
Yeah,
snap.
it's a year.
right.
So now, where is everyone else?
Right,
In
so
their
we're in,
story?
like,
Spider-Man's running away.
Spider-Man's running
Right.
away. Right, exactly.
Sam
We're
is
in
having an
getting his
existential
shield.
crisis about the
Or
shield.
not. Yeah.
Okay.
Wanda is
In grief therapy.
Wanda's with Doctor Strange somewhere.
She's with Doctor
Wanda
Strange.
has a dark hold. I think
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
past therapy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think we're
right.
at. I'm gonna do what I
I
want.
wanna do
now.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Bruce
Loki's
Banner,
gone.
Captain Marvel,
There you go.
Shang-Chi,
Have failed the city.
Aquafina. They're
Yeah,
all together.
They're all together.
Singing karaoke.
Yeah.
Aquafina, where were you? You could have saved the day, Katie.
Actually, she
could have shot
Well,
your
you know who
arrows.
could have
That's
saved the
what
day,
you
or
do.
could have at least helped, is Wong. But no, he's singing karaoke with Shang-Chi somewhere.
Wanda's too busy,
Wong's
like-
busy following like ring signals,
Yeah.
so he didn't realize this was going
but
on.
speaking of rings, did anyone else think that Phastos was going to have to do with the 10 rings?
Yes.
Because so many rings.
Funny
the time
you
this
say
comes-
that.
yeah.
We have a feature on that on our site, so be sure to check that out because hopefully it comes into play in the future.
As it should, because I was like,
Yes.
there's too many rings happening in his powers.
You mean like
not
the
get
universe?
to
That's a great.
That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
was like, dude. I said it from way back.
Wait.
Wait, is this
You said
connected?
that
Do you
after
guys-
Shang-Chi ended.
Yeah,
Was
I
there
did,
a
right?
throwaway line in the beginning where they talk about the Thanos snap and then bringing everyone back, and that could be a hint at like mutants, that not only did other people come back, but like Earth is finally evolved to like the next.
I didn't.
Maybe.
know.
That's
Was
interesting. I didn't really think.
Is
about
that kind of like our
together.
first foray into like, oh well,
What
with
if-
that snap, that
Yeah,
like
that'd be
sparked
interesting.
like an extra gene that now these people
So
are developing.
do you think that means mutants haven't existed in the MCU yet?
I don't know. We got to find
'Cause
out.
if
We
that
got to
is-
find out at Black Panther.
Well, because I will say that if that is the case, if mutants haven't existed, then
Well,
realistically,
obviously-
maybe they weren't supposed to.
Well, I take it back. We're
because
more so going to find out in
Egg
Doctor
didn't
Strange:
crack.
The Multiverse of Madness.
Oh,
Yes, we definitely are, and it's like
Yes.
it's a very.
FOMO.
That's true.
I mean, look, just go to our website if you want to know more about that. It's on our website, theilluminati.com. But I think we get a mutants addressed within the next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, however that plays out, we'll get mutants addressed.
Yeah, I mean they'll have to in Black Panther because of Namor,
Yeah.
and they'll have to.
She just said it. Boom.
Well,
Boom.
it has been said.
Exactly.
We
That's
are
why
on
I'm
our
like, yo,
website.
pay
Report on
attention.
that.
Again,
Alright,
go to
pay attention,
theilluminati.com if you want to find out more about that story.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
And then with the previs leaks from Doctor Strange, we know that a certain very, very important
Oh yes.
Mutant is gonna pop up.
Yes.
It's a bald man that likes to hold on
Oh,
to his
boy.
head a lot.
Hopefully, it is not another Ralph
So I-
Boner situation.
I guess
God.
if you wanted spoilers for Doctor Strange and Black Panther 2, this is the show for you. We should have pre-warned
That
you
was
for
so
that.
disappointing.
these are things. These are
That was
articles you can see.
amazing. What are you talking about? That was like the
Ralph
best
Boner,
thing ever.
The best thing that ever happened to you.
Yes,
Oh.
I was dying.
Because it.
Be
hits
sure to
so
check out
many-
that watch along episode because I am dying laughing, and then you hear just TC's soul die.
Yeah, and
I
it was
was
like
with
this
him.
was
I'm
it
with
was so good because it was like
You didn't like the.
this-
I'm not
No,
a big fan
I
of
thought it
Ralph.
was
Oh man,
hilarious.
I thought it was great because everyone
Marvel
was like,
straight
I
up
know
trolled
everything. Yep.
everyone.
Everyone's
It was
like, I know
amazing.
everything. ahead
Well,
of time,
that's
blah,
unfortunate
blah.
because it feels
Wow.
like everybody's trolling this movie now on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Yeah.
Which
Which
is unfortunate.
it is unfortunate.
Especially those jerks who are just doing it on like IMDb
It's so
because of the
stupid.
representation.
That's ridiculous.
Like,
It's so dumb.
dude, for that, it's kind of like, you know, how weak are you?
if you are doing
How
that, shame
pathetic
on
are
you.
you?
Shame on
No,
your family.
honestly.
Shame on your cow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Dishonor
Yes.
on your cow.
Yes, dishonor on your
Dishonor
cow.
on your
That's what I was
cow.
just thinking. That's what I was.
That is kind of so stupid. And oh my god.
It doesn't even deserve. It definitely doesn't deserve to be the lowest rated MCU.
No,
Like,
not by a
that's
long
just,
shot.
Like, so offensive to me.
Actually,
But-
it was.
You know, here's
The
the
more
thing.
you talk
Well, it's
about
what
it, the
you
better
said.
that film gets.
That's why I said the next day I liked it more. But that's the thing you said during one of the watch-alongs.
Yep.
It's the expectation game.
Oh,
People
well,
go
okay.
in with very specific expectations, and when
Don't-
it doesn't hit those, they're like, "Well, I hate it."
Okay,
now.
well then
Right.
let's answer that. Like, what were some of the expectations going in that they did or didn't hit for you? I know that one right now, a lot of people are going to discuss, and this is a spoiler podcast, is that did Dane show up as Black Knight? No, he didn't.
No.
But
we
they
knew
didn't.
that.
Well,
I got reported on weeks before this came
Well,
out.
here's
Yeah,
the
but a
thing.
lot of people don't.
Here's the
Okay.
thing.
Read
Now,
your stuff,
from
people.
from
Do
stuff
your
that
research.
that we do know from other outlets and set visits, there was a Black Knight costume, I believe.
Oh,
So-
really?
That's
Yeah,
what
you
I've
got
heard.
That
Right.
was
That's
that
what
was
I've
a
heard.
thing that was circulated too.
That's annoying.
So
Right.
here's the thing. I mean, granted, you know, who knows how many different iterations of the post-credit scene they shot. But, you know, I do like the slow build here. And I wasn't disappointed that Dane didn't become the Black.
No.
Black
I
I think it's
also wasn't
important he didn't pick
disappointed
up the sword.
because I forgot while watching the movie. So at the end, when he was like, "I need to tell you," and I was like, "What does he keep talking about? I need to tell her. I'm so confused."
I need to tell you about what Dane.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. Just
Your
say
name
it
is
out.
Dane.
Just say it, man.
And then my friend who's with me, she was like, "Black Knight." I was like, "Oh, that's right." I forgot. That
What do you need to tell her, Dane? Your name is Dane. You're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what other expectations were there, though?
There was a romance.
Yeah, I think they
there was a
oversold the
romance so
romance.
often to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
then
did
also,
oversell it.
honestly, the ancient alien thing, I didn't feel that. I
No,
felt
I
like
agree with that.
history and mythology. I didn't get ancient alien.
No.
Yeah.
To me, the most ancient alien was Earth's an egg. And I was like, that's too weird. I don't care. I'm not going to stop.
I mean,
Earth's
this
an
is-
egg is
So funny.
ridiculous.
This is depending on how you look at this movie, because there is a villain in it, and I think he's hiding in plain sight the whole time, obviously.
Right.
But the more you look at this movie, the more it's really just about a family.
Yes.
If he hadn't killed Ajax, would you consider him a villain?
To tell you the truth, I still don't kind of consider him a villain now. So, like,
So
you
no.
know, honestly, I mean, granted, in terms, look, I don't think, in his line of thinking, I don't think
No,
that
she betrayed him.
she betrayed him.
Yeah, she betrayed him in his mind.
So in his line of thinking, I don't think that he's necessarily a villain. Granted, I saw the movie, so I know
Right.
what happens.
To be
Yeah.
fair, he flew into the sun, so I don't think he's in a great place.
No.
Unless
It's
he
not
is
great for him.
Superman, and
Physically,
He did
mentally,
fly
and
too close to
emotionally.
the end to the sun. At the
I
end.
rolled my eyes so.
I-
I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie. I
I-
rolled my eyes so hard when that happened.
yeah, me
Literally,
too.
I still am. Like, it hurt me that bad. I was like,
I do hope he
Are we
does
really
come
gonna
back
go
as
for this?
Hyperion, though.
that's what I said, but I know it's not going to happen.
Who knows? Maybe.
I know it's not going to happen, but I was like, that would be
I will
so
say
good.
I was a little surprised, and maybe pleasantly so. Richard Madden is like the focus of this movie.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
kind of surprised me because I didn't expect that. And also, it just caught me off guard, I guess. I probably thought I was going to see more Kit Harington
Yeah,
than I thought.
exactly.
I'll say this too. One of the expectations I had going in, and I was sort of disappointed about, like they said, Gemma Chan's character was the main character, and she was. She's also the most boring,
Yeah, she
indeed.
doesn't. I don't.
and
feel,
that's not on her.
No,
No.
I don't think they gave her the chance to really like
Yes.
because again, like I said before, her love for humanity is like is what makes her the right choice. for
Yeah,
her.
I agree.
And it's
And-
it's not an arc
Yeah.
though. It's just she's so stagnant.
Like if we had gotten to see that happen,
Yeah.
that would have been so much better. But instead, she starts off that way. She
So-
just is that way, and they show it like once every hour.
So would Ikaris be our sympathetic character?
I mean, it really depends on how you look at this
I think
movie.
Well,
I
but I
think
mean, 'cause-
all of them, but realistically for me, Sprite.
I was going to say Sprite
Right.
too,
There you
actually.
go.
There you
Yeah.
go. Because I was like, now you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, oh well, you know, he was betrayed, so hey, death.
I
Your
don't
real
think-
sympathetic
I
character
don't
is
think-
Gilgamesh, though. Let's get real.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gilgamesh
Yeah.
is amazing.
Gilgamesh was so great.
That man, I mean,
I
that
love
dude.
Gilgamesh.
But in terms of having a viewpoint character, I do think Sprite might have been a better viewpoint character than Cersei.
Do-
Sprite
think-
watching.
I think
You mean
that
through,
would've-
through the movie's
For the
eyes to
film.
follow?
If
Yeah,
I
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
if
right.
that was the
Used her
case,
to
it
follow.
would have completely changed the film, though.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Like in a way where, because Sprite didn't like humanity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Right,
exactly. Sprite
exactly.
doesn't- so she has to learn to understand why someone would want to save humanity, and also she loves Ikaris, so she doesn't see that he's the quote unquote villain, right?
I like
think-
that
and
idea,
then
yeah.
she's like jealous of Cersei, so she doesn't understand that Cersei's love for humanity is like. So you see it as an arc through her.
Yeah,
Is what I would have.
but then you
done.
don't have the surprise.
Well, yeah. Well, but I guess the surprise of Icarus being the betrayer.
No,
Yeah, because that
when
even
she
gives you
stabs
more-
her
Oh, the
in
stab.
back.
That
Stab.
that
Yeah,
probably you
that's
take away, but I think with the surprise of the Icarus thing, it actually makes Icarus more of a villain
Right.
in
Yeah.
that situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is really fascinating to look at it from Sprite's perspective because I think it absolutely changes the movie, probably more so than any of the
Anyone
other characters.
else, I think.
Besides Brian, Tyree,
Oh, right.
Henry
If you
Ty-
had
Oh,
had
yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
film about Phastos, that'd just be
Fastest
Yeah,
would
on
have
another
been
level.
yeah.
He's just chilling
Which would be a
for,
cool movie.
He's just
Yeah.
chilling for an hour with his family, and then
Yeah.
his entire other family shows up, and he's like, "Oh my god."
Well, was there anyone in this film that didn't work for you in their role?
like
Actor wise, like it was
actor-wise?
anyone that you felt that was miscast or maybe wasn't serviced as much?
I will say that I was a lot more.
I wanted more Salma Hayek.
Well, yeah, I would
I
have
did
liked
too.
more
Makkari.
Salma Hayek for sure, and more Makkari, yeah, Lauren Ridloff. But I will say that with all the big names, I was like, why is Marvel suddenly doing stunt casting? So I thought like it was going to be a little bit weird, but at the end, I feel like they gelled really well. Like
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
did
there's anyone that.
I was shocked for a cast of 11 characters that like really got introduced. I was never like, "Oh, you're not great."
Right.
Even the 14-year-old who plays Sprite,
Yeah.
I
really
agree.
good.
Yeah.
Well, you guys do a Marvel watch along show, and if you're going to watch that, you go to our Twitch channel because we are going to be starting Hawkeye very soon. Caitlin, Daniel, and Richard breaking Hawkeye.
Because
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye should die.
Yeah,
and
Hawkeye.
make way
That's
for
it.
Kate
Yeah.
Bishop.
There
Yes.
you go.
Hawkeye.
Correct.
We're going to be talking about that every single week, right, guys?
Oh yeah, we will.
Yep.
Baby.
Great.
It's gonna be great right over there on Twitch because that's where things happen.
And the first one is going to be super long because it's 2 episodes.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. They're coming out together.
So that's going to be on Twitch. Go ahead and subscribe.
We will not sleep that night.
No sleep till Brooklyn.
Let's talk about some Black Knight, a character that we didn't really get in Marvel's Eternals, but I think it's okay. This is the beginning of something that I think can be cool. Like Caitlin was saying, it's a different side of the MCU that we haven't really seen yet.
Oh man.
Here's the thing, guys. I was struggling to listen to who that was. It sounded like Mahershala Ali
That's
to me.
what that's exactly what I was gonna ask y'all, was that Blade?
I think.
that shit Blade?
All right, if we're taking bets here.
Okay.
If we're taking bets here, I'm gonna say yes. That was Mahershala Ali and Blade.
I'm gonna say yes from a business story perspective of Blade is soon.
Yes.
Okay.
From
Like-
a lore perspective, I would like it to be like Merlin.
Right. I mean, that's true. Because I was thinking, like, what is the connection between Blade and Black Knight?
Black Knight
But-
straight up challenges Dracula to a sword fight.
So there is a
Yes.
connection.
Yeah.
There
Well,
can be a connection.
Yeah.
There's also a connection because later his brother becomes like infected and becomes a vampire,
People
and that's
become vampires. A lot of people become
oh
vampires.
yeah, indeed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So-
That's the whole Marvel thing.
So maybe, and it sounds like in Dane's past, right? His family line has been like villainous, right? And that's like one thing he doesn't want
it's
to.
the sword.
The sword.
The sword
makes
is
you-
basically, for people that aren't aware, like don't really know as much about it, it's basically like the One Ring, but as
Right.
a sword. It gives you bloodlust, basically.
Okay.
So that's why he was all worried about grabbing it, and then you have the whole like, are you sure type deal,
Right.
because it is a thing. It's not like he's like, ha, magic sword, I'm gonna
Right.
win.
Right.
You know.
So maybe in his past there has been like a kerfuffle with Blade and his family members.
Or at least that
Maybe his
that
brother's
the,
already a vamp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like maybe
like maybe.
that's why specifically Blade would be like, or
Yeah, hey,
in his
are
mind,
you
what
sure
he's
about that?
doing.
Blade's like, gimme.
Well, here's the real curious part of this question is that are we led to believe, because we don't know where Kit Harington's Dane Whitman's going to appear next.
Right.
Yeah.
So we led to believe that it could be in Blade.
If that is Blade, then maybe.
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night. I know that's something else that Marvel's
That's also
working on.
great. That's
Oh
true.
yeah, true.
We could, I mean, this is a character that works in a lot of the magical stuff because it's the character going, oh my god, I'm dealing with magic and I'm a dude with a sword. So, like, we could see him in something like Moon Knight, too, realistically.
Very
Oh, that's a
true.
great call.
Very
Moon Knight.
true.
Now, there's also rumors. We've heard rumors that Bruce Banner is going to be in Moon Knight also. So that it could be quite interesting if that does happen. Look, I'm excited to see where the character pops up. I have no clue where it's going to be. If I had to guess, though, if I was putting money down on something to see where the character pops up next, I would say it's also Blade.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, if it is Merlin, for example, my thing was how many other
How does that connect to anything?
yeah, well, no, it makes sense because it will connect to
Well, it
him.
connects to
still.
him, but
anything
other
else that we know
Anything
about.
exactly as far as the business standpoint, it hasn't been connected to anyone
Right.
else.
You'd
but
show that on screen, I think. Like everyone would understand
Well,
Merlin if you saw a
see,
Merlin hat.
But that's also a good thing because
And a magic wand, apparently.
He's like, are you sure?
Or like a Gandalf beard. You know,
Yeah.
that's Merlin. That's
Is
Merlin.
it, I mean,
But,
is it some guy wearing the sorting hat? It wasn't even him. It wasn't even him. It, was the sorting
Merlin,
hat.
it was the hat, yes!
It's like, are you sure? Like that hat
And
moves
then
around.
he picks up the blade because he's like, there's a talking
Yeah,
hat.
he's like, what is that? You know?
Well, the other rumor that a lot of people have been speculating that it could be the Watcher.
Oh.
Oh, that'd be
But
cool.
so
I don't
we-
think it sounded like him.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't.
It didn't sound like it didn't sound
I
like
feel like
it
we
didn't
know
sound
Jeffrey Wright's voice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
and
sounded
that
like
definitely
like,
wasn't.
you would assume
it.
that we know Mahershala Ali's voice too, but like,
Yeah, but like
here we are.
Do
But
we?
people
Heard it
behind
in
me,
Marvel.
like several people, like when we weren't in the same screen.
No.
No.
But we went, and the two guys behind us were like, "Oh my God, Mahershala Ali," and then we're like, "Oh my God, it is
So,
Mahershala Ali."
but that's
You
interesting.
were
But
like,
I think
thanks, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
I don't know if that's
Thanks,
spread
random
because
stranger.
somebody thought it was, because I noticed too, because I honestly, even after hearing it, I was like, man, who was that? That one was also very hard to hear. But then I heard, like I saw on Twitter, or somebody asked me, was like, was it Mahershala Ali? So it put it in my head that it was in Mahershala Ali.
Right.
So I was wondering,
Okay.
is this kind of one of those things that get
will
put in?
say I didn't recognize the voice, but it was also super hard to hear.
It was hard
It
to
was
hear.
hard to hear.
Because it was pretty much like, yeah, people were already
The
started kind
screaming.
of chit-chatting and screaming and blah, blah. So then it was like, damn it.
Yeah,
like, they
by
knew
the
what they were
way-
doing when they placed it. They were like, yeah, hopefully everybody, all the fanboys and all the girls would just yell and, we'll just keep it going.
All the
And-
Kit Harington fans will just scream over it.
Yeah, right?
Well, one thing is for sure, though, we definitely know that we're going to get the Black Knight in something.
Right.
We just don't know what.
And we're getting like the coolest version of the Black Knight. It's just a dude who's confused and he's got a sword and a like freaking knight helmet. You're
Yeah.
like, he's just a guy who's in it, and you're like, maybe you should sit down.
Right.
You know?
Right, exactly.
He's like, oh, this is a lot for me.
Yeah, right?
He's
Like-
like, Dracula, I will defeat you. Nah, Dracula beats him.
Right?
Bad.
Yeah. He's like, why am I fighting Dracula with a sword? Like, you know, like,
Doesn't seem right.
can't I have a magical gun? Like, why do I have to do this? Like,
You have Blade, who's got all the weapons, and he's like,
yeah, right?
So let's talk about the next post-credit scene that featured One Direction star Harry Styles.
which y'all probably found out about on social media before the movie.
Yes.
So Marvel, it wouldn't be a Marvel podcast without talking about post-credit scenes, and we are going to break down a couple of them. We had a mid-credit
have a
scene.
couple of them.
We do have a couple of them, a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene. First question I have for both of you guys, I can tell you right now, the mid-credit scene, or I don't remember, it was the mid-credit scene,
Yes.
was pretty hard for me to hear, simply because the
Screams?
squealing, the loud fans of this
Really?
this
You're saying-
pop star. Harry Styles.
Yeah.
I could barely hear what was going on screen.
That's amazing because one of the squealers was sitting right next to Caitlin. And Caitlin could barely hear anything. And I could barely hear anything.
Don't do that. Leave it alone.
I'm going to pick on him because
Wait a minute.
I was also one of the squealers. So the thing
You can't do that when he's not here. We only do it on the watch along.
that's true. I was one of the
If
squealers,
you
so I'm
haven't
not
been
going to
paying
lie.
attention to the watch along, I think it straight up broke his spirit. On the last one.
Oh, you did.
He
That's
just
true.
did not try and defend himself.
That's true.
What, for this Harry Styles
No,
thing?
no, no,
Nope.
no, no. No, for
Just
the Harry
in
Styles thing,
general.
honestly, that was kind of me. But I know
So y'all are
when
just
it
bullies.
did happen,
Y'all are just bullies on this watch
when
along.
it did
Yeah, it sounds
happen,
like a lot of bullying.
when
going
it
on.
did happen, when it happened, I was kind of like watermelon sugar high. So I said it
I
to
heard
myself.
you scream behind me.
I did.
It wasn't like longer. I think you were just like,
I did.
Meanwhile,
And
I have to say I'm really grateful to Variety for having spoiled this.
I am too.
Because I didn't know what this
not.
man looked like.
You didn't know what Harry
So
Styles looked like?
So when Harry Styles came
Well,
on,
to be
I
fair-
would not have known that
To
was
be
Harry
fair,
Styles.
he didn't have all his hair.
Right.
Yeah, he
So I
didn't.
think a
He
lot of
didn't.
people didn't realize who it was.
Yeah.
They're like, "Where's the flop?"
Yeah, yeah. Like honestly, there's a whole.
Were you waiting
I
for
want to
the
talk.
hair
I do
flip?
want to talk about that for a second because look, one thing that we do at the Illuminerdi is a lot of exclusives that
I was
are
gonna say,
spoiler type of
spoiling
content.
things that
But here's the
people
thing:
don't want spoiled.
we didn't spoil this one.
No, we did not.
And
I
the
love the fact that we did.
Variety. Not only did one person from
To be
Variety did
fair,
it,
we
two
would
people did it
never
from
do
Variety.
that.
No.
Two people from a trade spoiled this at the premiere. That's 3 weeks ahead of people being able to watch the movie. That is insane
I
to
just
me.
want to know what thoughts were being thunk.
So,
I want to know.
I have a theory.
What happened to them?
I think that
I am waiting for that story.
Well, I don't know if we're going to find out anything about that. My assumption is that both of those people would get blacklisted or at least a talking down to, but we never know because
Do
it's
you
Variety.
think that happened, or do you think it was somewhat planned?
I don't think it was planned.
Okay.
And this is just my own personal opinion, not anybody else's. No insight here. My guess is that Variety probably tried to confirm this story with Disney multiple times because I do think the Harry Styles, Star Fox kind of story was out there for a long time.
Right.
Nobody knew
Yeah,
it was going to be a
right.
post-credit scene, whatever it was going to be. I think they were trying to get the story confirmed, and obviously you guys know the way that Disney and Marvel work. It was like a hard no.
Yeah.
And then I think this was, I think they even ran the story, and I think this was their vindication, being like, well, here's the confirmation.
You don't vindicate 3 weeks before the movie came
You
out.
don't,
Right.
but when you're
You're
Variety,
right.
though, it's not like they're going to take a major, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
not like they're going to suffer
They
from
can't
this.
blacklist all of Variety.
Right. I mean, it would be cool if they did.
Let them try.
Let's do it.
Yeah, if they were just
Watch
like,
the world burn.
But honestly, that's such a shitty move for a lot of fans
That
that
was mean.
genuinely
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
watch
that's
that.
the biggest problem.
I will say this as someone who writes a lot of exclusives. You don't do that.
Right.
No.
That's messed up.
It's unprofessional.
Yeah.
Also, besides that, just kind of there's an understanding within the nerd, geek, or film community where it's just like, hey, you know what? Someone worked so hard to keep this secret for a reason.
Yeah.
Why do you have to be the person to ruin that?
Right, and it's
secret?
just different when the movie's like coming out now. You know, like
Yes.
Yeah.
you know the information because you were at the premiere or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
like an etiquette
Yeah,
thing of
exactly.
like, it's Marvel. Like, you don't walk. Like Suicide Squad had like the post credit scene. No one walked out of that premiere and was like,
Right.
"Oh my god, Peacemaker's alive!" blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know.
Spoiler culture is what it is, and I think that Daniel, you kind of hit it the best. Do you think that going into something like this, like a big Marvel project like this, and getting spoiled with the post-credit scenes, not a cool thing to do generally, right?
It's not a cool thing to do. And what's interesting to me is that how is it that we had a social contract with The Sixth Sense, but we didn't have a social contract with
social
this.
media.
Pre social media is a
Well,
little
that's true.
different story.
Social media, yeah.
Well, when did it? Yeah,
Like
so-
99.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
my,
if it's
like
99, yeah.
like the Shang-Chi post credits didn't get spoiled like
No,
that.
it did not. It did not. But also,
I
there
think
was
it's
no.
because-
Well, there was
because
giant
it's
cameos
like
in
a
that.
more like a new casting thing. So maybe they felt like it wasn't a spoiler because
Which is
they
lame.
weren't spoiling plots.
Oh, I guess
you know? Like that kind of
ish.
thing.
I mean,
But-
just that the character is going to appear, I feel is a
Yeah,
big enough
exactly.
spoiler. But what are your guys' opinion on spoiler culture? Because this is something that, I mean, hey, we work in the business of this.
Right. I think that you should try to avoid having a spoiler in the headline. I think you should try to avoid having a spoiler in your tweet. Right.
I think if you follow something like us and you don't want spoilers, that's a weird move.
Well, yeah, in general,
But
don't follow us.
something like Variety,
you should expect
you
not to
have
get
an
spoiled.
expectation. And not only that, this was not a headline. Like, it's different when it's a news story or it's a feature or something like that. This was just a tweet. You cannot avoid this
Literally.
if you are following either the person that tweeted it or anyone that retweets it or likes it. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Daniel, what's your feeling on spoilers?
It's a love-hate kind of situation because honestly, spoilers is I make my bread and butter. But also in other ways, it depends on what you are spoiling.
Right.
Like, for example, if that person felt like, I have to let people know that I know what's going on, a simple tweet that said, Star Fox, ?
Right.
would have been fine.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have said Harry Styles, wouldn't have said
Right.
anything else.
Or
just
if you had been
Star
like,
Fox?
Harry
I love
Styles.
that Eternals tells the MCU which direction they should go in.
Yeah.
Oh, see,
That's actually good.
slide.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
You've
like,
been holding that in for a while. Tell me you've been holding that in for a while.
Like, this is what I would have said.
Yes.
If I had made that tweet.
It's a
There you
great,
go. Like,
great.
see, there you go. That's something. It's witty. It's like, okay.
Well, let me ask
and
you:
then-
would you get? I mean, I know you're a big wrestling fan. Would you get mad if wrestling spoilers happened?
oh my God. You know me.
Well, let me ask you.
wait,
Let me ask you because there was a
I will
day
hurt
I was
you.
watching AEW, and this was a big debut that was supposed to happen, and I specifically said, "Hey, I don't want any spoilers."
No.
Literally within minutes, Daniel showed me his phone. He goes, "Hey, look at this." The spoiler
He did
for the
not
night.
Okay, you
Hold
did
on.
not specifically
Hold
tell
on.
me.
Oh, I literally told you to
Wow.
your face, I don't want any spoilers for this event.
It was a faux pas.
Oh my God. Yeah, I walked in the door and I was like, yeah, oh my God, he's right. I remember that is how it happened. Oh.
I set him up to talk about spoilers for this
No.
exact moment.
You did well. You do not get to speak on
Oh
this anymore. Wow.
But he did say he makes his bread and butter with spoilers.
I
how I
will
do it,
say,
buddy.
I think that one of the reasons
to do
too is that people at the big trades or just the bigger sites have gotten away a lot of times with spoiling things immediately as they come out.
They
And
feel
people
more
get mad
invulnerable.
every time, but it's something small or whatever. It's only like a certain group of people, right? Like they spoil like the ending of the Flash episode seconds after it ended or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
You know? And so then they just like keep on.
Hold on.
What?
The ending of the Flash episode
Listen, I'm saying it's small things.
is not the same.
That's
saying
what
it's small things.
You get bigger and bigger, right? Like every time you get away with like a small thing, you just like do
You
it
keep
bigger.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do have a
that's
question
true.
about this
That's
because
true.
I know that you're so ingrained with the Flash. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
With
I'm
the
so
Flash,
sorry.
obviously, I mean, it's been on for so many seasons at this point. Do fans still get upset if let's say that you know something's coming and you dropped it? Do hardcore fans really get upset about that?
Hardcore fans, as far as I know, want the spoilers.
Yeah,
do,
Right?
okay.
yeah.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, the difference I think is like you want to be able to find the spoilers. You want to know where the spoilers are.
Yeah,
but
but
you
you
don't
don't
want
want-
to just get
alright.
it spoiled
Yeah,
in your face.
like
now.
that's why
Oh,
this was
boy.
such an issue for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't like we're like, oh, we're gonna like reveal the post-credit scene or Harry Styles appears in the movie or something like. It was like,
What?
this is what it is,
Right.
and it's a tweet.
Yeah.
You know,
Like if you had been like, click this link for the spoilers on the post-credit scene, then everyone would be excited to click on the link. You know.
and,
And
we
that means
And that
they
would
do
not
it
be our
themselves.
business if you
They-
get in trouble for that.
Yeah,
and I
that's
would
what I'm
also
saying.
like to say, we know we dropped the ball a couple times with titles and spoilers.
Yes, we have.
We know
In fact,
that.
we did that with the Harry Styles thing.
What are you talking about? No, we
Like, it
didn't.
was already spoiled.
Yeah.
I would like to
Yeah.
say,
And then I did it like 3 more times because I couldn't get the tweet right.
you did it like 5 times. I remember. I looked at the like.
If you
comments.
guys want to blame somebody, it's this guy right
There
here.
was like 12
Wow.
comments, and it was like, dude, this is like the 6th try.
Making sure that everybody was well aware that we dropped the story, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were like, but I will
And
say
every
this.
time zone.
I will say this to the people that were irritated at us. We reported that like 12 hours later.
Right.
I got to a
Relax.
point,
Yeah,
honestly, where I was
slow
like,
down.
hey, I'm pretty sure other
Like, if
people
you don't know,
this.
now you know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, but we're like, I did want to say we do recognize that we've dropped the ball a couple times on that, and we're cognizant of it, or like aware of it, and we learn from it.
Exactly.
You live, you learn.
But I feel like that person didn't.
No.
No, that was a bold move.
Yes.
That was a bold move against
just
Disney.
like-
Hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie. This is a guy that's pulled some bold moves too against Disney, but that was a bold one. That was one where it was like,
That was one where
Hold
I
my
was
beer.
shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked. It wasn't like, okay, they were really upset and Feige just showed up somewhere at that guy's house, like
Took him
just
out.
right out of like a dark corner, and
Feige's
Feige
like-
just, hey. Oh!
Feige's like,
that was it.
hey, you know how you've heard of those Marvel sniper jokes? They're not.
They're
jokes.
not. Yeah, right? I mean, dude, this is the guy who got a burner phone to send a text message to Owen Wilson when he talked about the mustache.
Oh my God.
And he was
What?
like, he got a text message from a number that he was like, I don't know. And everyone was like, oh, that's Feige. And he was like, how do you know? And he was like, yeah, everyone told me that Feige hit me up with a text that said, one, like, strike one. Strike one was the comment. Like, he talked about the mustache, and then he said later he's on set or something like that, and it was just like strike one, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
oh, this is where that strike thing
yeah,
comes
yeah,
from.
and it was strike one, and I was like, "No way, that's not real." And it was like he told the story again on something else, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's true!
No.
Like, that's insane." I don't want to play with that guy.
No.
This guy is. I mean, Feige. He literally was like, "Hey, PA, get me a burner phone." Okay,
me a
thanks.
burner phone.
Boom.
Strike one.
I want to challenge
Threw it
Kevin
away.
Feige to a game of Hero Clicks. I know that we both play. So
Oh.
I definitely want to challenge Kevin Feige.
Oh my God.
Winner gets to produce a Marvel movie.
Oh, wow. There you
I
go.
wonder. I do wonder.
Go
what's
big
his-
or go home, exactly.
I wonder what's his like. Does he have him like set up? When you're like, oh no, 500-point game, boom. He already has it. Like, oh, a 600-point game, boom.
So that's how
Like,
believe it or
he
not,
has them already ready.
I learned most of
just
my
pulls
Marvel
out all
characters
the
through that game.
Yes.
Like, that's how I knew who all the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Wow.
But I had no idea about any of the Eternals, though.
Right.
Like, this was a major blind spot. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't go back and read the Jack Kirby stuff, and I definitely didn't read the Neil Gaiman stuff. But I think I
What
was.
are you talking about? We totally introed that at the beginning of this.
I said I
All
didn't.
super
I didn't.
weird.
I didn't personally.
he didn't.
I didn't. I mean, somebody
We
here
learned
did.
from Pedro.
Man, the gaming stuff is dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably
I
what
mean,
the
it's game.
majority.
Far
I
more
mean,
de-
but so
yeah,
is the Jack
exactly.
Kirby. So is Jack Kirby's stuff. Anybody
Kirby's
that's
was
read Jack
still
Kirby
kind of
stuff.
like, oh, okay, I get what you're doing.
Kirby's was a lot of stuff he didn't use in New Gods.
Right. But Caitlin, you had the opportunity to talk to one of the actors from the Eternals, the one played Sprite. What can you tell me about that interview? And we're gonna cut to it in just a second here.
I think one of the coolest things talking to her was really her explanation of how the Eternals are different from the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy, because we did talk about like it feels different, and her reasoning made complete sense. And it also sort of to me made a little more sense why we maybe didn't get a preamble into this movie.
Right. Well, let's check out that clip right now.
How are the Eternals different from other Marvel teams we've seen, like the Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers?
Well, they sort of have a different mission in a way than all of the other earthly heroes, I guess you could say. They're loyal to Arishem, a celestial. They're not really, their job isn't to save the earth in a way. They're loyal to someone else. They're 7,000 years old. They're older than any other superhero. And their sort of family bond is a little bit different. They're already a group. They didn't really become one over time.
Caitlin, that was a great soundbite. If you guys want to watch that full interview, it is on our YouTube channel right here. Or if you're listening to this podcast, go check out our YouTube channel at The Illuminerdi. And if you want to read the article that you wrote about, it is on theilluminerdi.com. And there you can read, if you're into spoilers like Daniel here, you can read a ton of them. They're all there. But
I will say though too, be sure to check out the full interview if you want to see what MCU character she wants Sprite to team up with. And it's a fun team up.
yeah,
I loved it.
I think that's a great answer. Also, something that we do here all the time is break news. However, we did break Eternals news. It just wasn't here at the Illuminerdi because we weren't informed yet.
It was the olden days.
It was the olden
the
days.
days of the Celestials.
Yes.
Before we turned against them.
Oh my
That's
god.
For humanity.
That's right.
The egg did break. I'm now on board.
The egg did break.
Because I'm the new planet.
Exactly. You're the new planet.
But back at our
Bravo.
at our old stomping grounds, we did run 2 exclusives that turned out to be correct. One were the character breakdowns for all of the Eternals,
Yes.
which
So good at this
which
game.
were all there.
That's impressive.
But believe it or not, though, there were actually more Eternals that were set to appear in the movie, at least with the initial
and that
breakdowns.
is not a strike against us.
That is not a strike against us.
the
Nope.
script.
Not
Exactly.
only that, it might be an exclusive for down the line.
Ooh, there you go.
There
We're
you
gonna
go.
make some more.
There you
That's
go.
right. Because after all, Eros is a new one to them.
Yeah, he's
So
all
the
like,
other
we're gonna
new
meet
ones.
other Eternals,
Yeah,
yo.
exactly.
Well, Eros is actually part of the breakdown, believe it or not, and labeled as Star Fox. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a handful of other ones that are also there. Another one that we got correct was that this was Marvel's first openly gay relationship, or in an LGBTQ relationship in a Marvel story. This was a exclusive that we broke back in, believe it or not,
2019, right?
2019,
Yeah.
early 2019. So here we are, we were 2 for 2 on this one, and it just shows our track record is improving. And we didn't spoil anything after the post-credit scene. Holy shit.
my
That's
God,
crazy.
right?
Wow, we're better than Variety.
200%.
Oh my god, we understand normal etiquette.
Right.
Wow.
But overall,
real
I think
journalists.
we do have to rank this movie. And we were talking about this earlier. At least I was talking about this earlier because it does fall into 2 categories, right? Where do you rank it in your Marvel list? But then where do you rank it just as a movie?
Oh shoot.
Can
So-
we do the actual Marvel list, or can we give it a 1
Well,
to 5?
you don't have to like say, oh, it's
Okay.
right
I'm
between.
gonna list all
Yeah.
30.
here's all the movies, and it's gonna be number 14.
Yeah,
no, you don't
right.
have to do
No.
that. But just what do you give it out of a 1 out of 5? What do you give it for just being a general movie? Is what we'll go with first. I'll start. For an actual just a movie, I think this is a solid 3.75.
Wow.
3 3/4 stars. Look, it's the story is coherent. The weakest part of the story, honestly, is the deviant side of this.
Yeah.
It is the weakest part. It's actually the visually the weakest part also.
The egg.
The egg, yeah. But I think that the chemistry between the cast is great. I think the direction is really good. I think the visuals are good, and I think it tells for being a really dense story, it actually gives everybody something to do, and it made me actually care about everybody throughout the course of the film. It is a slower paced Marvel movie, and I was okay with that. It didn't take me out of the movie at all, but I do understand people that are going in specifically for the Marvel experience because
Right.
it wasn't the same as I would normally get, but I was okay with that personally. So for me, 3.75. I mean, and Caitlin knows this. I walked out of that movie pretty happy about it.
He did. Yeah.
And I'm standing by it now that even
Defending its honor.
yeah
So
now
it's
even
the
after
3.75 the Marvel or the actual movie?
that's the actual movie.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in about the movie?
Sure. I will say first off that I would love to know how many points Caitlin is going to dock because she does hate eggs so much that she will.
Yeah,
it's.
I love no.
That's true.
She's like, I've watched this show. I know what happens here.
I know what happens.
And I hated the film. It gets a 4. You know, like she's gonna do that.
Gets a 5. I hate it so much. It's a perfect score. How dare it do that to me? No, I was gonna say I would give it a 3.5 just because I feel like as a movie it could have been smoother. Like I felt like they really did have to like throw shit in there and they could not maybe I don't know, spread it out or whatever. So it did feel like a little bit choppy.
You felt like they tried to cram too much into that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I get
But
that. I
there
get
is
it.
so many individual aspects that I really enjoyed that if I was ranking it as a Marvel movie, I would rank it like with Black Widow. I hate this so much. It's a 4.
You know what? I'm actually, believe it or not,
Wow.
believe it or not, Tatiana, I'm with you on this. In terms of being a Marvel movie, look, 'cause there's a lot of good ones. It's in my lower tier, and it has nothing to do. See, it's such a different thing because, like,
Caitlin
Hold on.
is
yeah, I'm not
Your
like
lower tier is a 4?
No.
no,
Not
my
for me.
well, you
But
have to
I would put
understand.
it in the lower tier,
Most Marvel
but-
movies, I would say, are pretty decent. Like they're pretty good
Yeah.
from start to finish. So
they're,
if you're
like,
taking those as
formulaic.
just they are formulaic. But if you're taking those as just movies, like just straight up movies, I think that's a different ranking. If you're putting them up against other Marvel movies that fall into the same universe, I don't think the story is as strong or impactful and done with the amount of time they had. I think that a great example is something like Captain Marvel, right? Like I think Captain Marvel on paper is a good movie, but I think in the hands of a better director, that's a better movie.
Right.
Like with the same exact script.
Right.
I think with this movie,
It's like the opposite.
a little bit the opposite. Yeah,
I think,
honestly, a little
I
bit the
will agree
opposite.
with that because I think Winter Soldier is one of the few movies that is strong in both counts.
I agree with that. I do
yes,
agree with
it
that.
is.
It's my favorite Marvel movie, actually. But it's also just a straight up good movie.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I think that, like, some of these movies, like, honestly, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is a good movie.
That's fun.
But,
Yeah.
like, it's on my lower tier Marvel movies for some odd reason because, like,
It
there's
doesn't
so
stand
many.
out.
Right. Right. It doesn't stand out. But as a standalone movie, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it's just a different scale. But, like, you know, diving into some of these cinematic universes, it kind of
Right.
fluctuates.
I guess it's to say like I said it wrong because like I agree with you in the sense that I think that the movie has so much to offer if it hadn't had to fit the box of being a Marvel movie.
Checking all those boxes,
Exactly.
right?
Like there's like so much more that it could have been, or it could have been, you know, like I'm gonna bring up Dune again. It could have been the start of an epic story like Dune is.
So you would have wanted it to be a part one?
Or like we already said, start off as a series. You know, start off as like introducing the Eternals through one or two.
I will say if it had been a part one, I would have liked it less.
I mean, like if it had been a part
yeah,
one
yeah.
of like a team up.
I walked out of
just-
Infinity War pissed.
Yeah, no,
Did
I
you really?
would not want that.
Infinity War is a very good movie.
Yeah,
I was not psyched about the end,
Right.
essentially
And
being
neither
the
was I.
climax of a story.
So
I
what-
wouldn't want that for.
Well, it's a
but
different
I would
mindset.
Want a complete movie, but
Yeah.
starting that
So,
smaller
and
scale.
that's why I think you have to judge Marvel movies a little bit differently
Yeah.
because of that. Because it's a serialized cinematic experience. Like Game of Thrones, I mean, a lot of people can compare. Well, you had to wait a year or 2 years for Game of Thrones, but it's a series. I knew that going in.
Yeah.
Whereas film, you know, for the most part, you want it wrapped up by the course of that 2.5 hours, an hour and a half, however long you're telling that
Well,
story.
Star Wars is kind of a good example for the most part. Like even the original trilogy, like the first one is a standalone movie very much. The second one, yeah, it ends on a cliffhanger, but you also kind of have each character has an arc in the movie that resolves.
You know, Star Wars, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with that franchise specifically for that reason.
You started it wrong.
you started. it-
Maybe I started it wrong, but
Machete
the
cut?
brand itself didn't finish it right.
That's
so, like, I think that Star Wars has a lot of issues they need to work out and hammer out.
I think the Disney Plus shows are helping with that.
That's
I
true.
agree with you.
that.
I think that's I mean, this is a whole nother talk for a whole nother time. I agree with you.
Check out
You
our
know what?
Star Wars watch along on Twitch as well.
There you go. And I'm sure hopefully once Star Wars gets their shit together, we'll get cinematic movies and we can talk about them on this show too eventually.
Oh,
Taika
hope so.
Waititi, save us.
So what did you guys think about your rankings, and then where do you kind of rank this within its Marvel cinematic experience?
Oh,
It's like you said, I like a lot of pieces of it. I can't get past the fact that I did not care about the main plot. I didn't. I was like, great, you're searching for your family because, okay. Like, that was my mentality with that. And that's before the weird egg reveal, man. That's pre that. It's like, oh, monsters. Why not just kill him?
Right.
Like, you have basically Superman. Just killed the freaking monster.
Like that
Yeah.
was your goal here, like,
Right?
They should be excited. Like, oh my god, we have a job again.
yeah.
Not only
right?
that.
There you go.
Not only that, it was kind of, right, everyone coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
Not only that, it was kind of the thing of like, they didn't need every single Eternal to kill all the monsters the first time.
Right.
Why do you need it this time? So I couldn't get past the fact that I didn't care about the main plot. So that to me, I can't give it more than a 3 on either count for that. I think so many pieces of this are great though. I want to give it a higher score. You have to care about the plot of the movie.
Hey, out of curiosity, what did you give Wonder Woman 84? I'm just
my
kidding.
God.
I'm just kidding. I'm totally
Wow.
kidding. No, you know what? I
I
wanna-
will say this. It's probably the same.
No, I wanted to. I do want to. I do.
I'm
I
like,
find it. I
three
find it
seems
actually.
high for
No,
184.
There's a lot of really good pieces to
No,
it.
but
Doesn't execute
I
well.
will say this, which I really do like about this experience, and I think this is a pretty fair answer with your answer for Eternals, mainly because I think with Wonder Woman, at least initially, you were hit with the glamour of, oh, this is something brand new to me that you're getting to do. And granted, the Eternals premiere was something brand new, but you weren't enamored.
Oh, are you talking about my review?
The experience,
First big review.
yeah. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, you were excited. You were
Excited. It was the excitement behind it.
Also,
Sure.
I will say this. I watched it 4 times. That totally threw me off.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
That's a
I
lot
was
of times to
real
watch that
nervous.
movie.
I watched it 4 times in 24 hours.
That's
That is
insane.
as
Oh
my
long as I
God.
was allowed to have it.
Wow.
That's
That threw me
insane.
off a bit. But I also will say this in my defense. It has really cool
The ideas
concepts.
are pretty cool.
Like, I will always love the traumatized hero. That is something you never get enough of, in my
Yeah,
opinion. It's why
yeah.
I love Thena's storyline.
I agree.
So that being her like main storyline in that was awesome to me. I was shocked by how well I liked Kristen Wiig in the cheetah thing before she got all weird and fuzzy at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
But
not great.
I do think it's a good indicator because like you came like you gotta this was your first big Marvel premiere like that. And I think that you weren't blinded by the bullshit, which is good.
Yes.
You had a pretty steady head throughout the whole thing. How about you?
Me.
Oh wait, Caitlin, where do you also rank this within the Marvel films?
Oh yeah.
Like, don't give me an exact answer, but is it top tier, mid tier?
Bottom mid.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
where I'm
not
at
like
too.
where it
Bottom mid.
lives.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
It's not bad. It's not the worst. I will say
Definitely
that.
not the
Like
worst.
people that are saying it's the
No.
worst Marvel movie or that
No.
Rotten Tomato score, you're wrong.
Yeah,
There's a lot
It's
of
just
good.
like objectively not the worst.
Yeah,
Like,
there's-
as a movie, it's just better.
And there's a
Yeah.
lot of good pieces to it where there's other Marvel movies where you're like, there's not that many
Right.
good pieces to this.
Does it have a rewatchability for you though? Like, are you excited to be like, all right, if
I'm
this
gonna
is in your
go-
Marvel watch along,
I
you're-
would-
I'm gonna
So-
go rewatch it opening weekend.
Yeah, because there's
So
so
am I,
much
actually.
to take in that
Yep.
you want to be able to find other pieces of it.
Yep.
I said it at the start. I like this more the second day. So that to me is like I have to watch it again.
yeah.
Right.
Daniel, give me your rating for this one.
I loved it the second day, so definitely I agree. Caitlin and I, that was something we definitely
We talked
agreed
about
on.
it.
Yeah, like we immediately were like, we texted each other the next day, and it was like,
I was like, I like it more. He's like,
Yeah.
yep.
yeah, and that was something that was interesting to me. I walked into this film not knowing about the characters, not caring
I
about
liked
the
it. I liked it
characters.
about the same.
Okay.
Oh,
Like
okay.
going outside of this premiere,
Sorry.
like it was Daniel, myself, Caitlin, Richard was with us, Cece, Brandon, and they were all with us. And I think I was the only. I'm sorry. I think I was the only one.
Text me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you
I,
doing?
I think I was the only one that kind of walked out of that and said, yeah, I actually really like this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, like, and I had a stew, and I was like, now I knew that I was going to be one of the only ones, and I saw everybody else's reaction. I was like, oh man,
No,
I'm
you know
sticking-
who else loved it? Richard.
Oh.
You know how you wouldn't know that? His review.
Oh really?
Yep.
Yeah, I did like the movie, and then I even thought about it more. And I know Caitlin had said, well, it wasn't really about love, and I more thought about it. I was like, well, it is. It just wasn't about romance.
Right.
Yeah. So letting it kind of like brew a little bit, I sat there and I realized, yeah, you know, when I did like the story, the visuals. I mean, you know, the deviants, whatever. Like I get it. I get that, you know, I know that you're a big CG person, or not a big CG person, but I know
Yeah,
that you're more
me.
forgiving. You're more
Yeah,
forgiving
more
for CG.
forgiving, for sure.
But the story,
regardless.
the story was decently solid, and like I think it looked epic. I think that in terms of like moving along a universe, I don't know how well that it did for that, but just as a standalone movie, I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
After you give your rating, I have a question for everyone.
All right.
okay.
All right.
What's your rating?
Give
So,
it.
once again, like I said, walk into the film knowing nothing, walk out caring, loving, and interested in what happens to these characters. I became invested, and
Yeah.
that's something that is great for me when it comes to a film. Also, I love the fact that it did not choose to check all the boxes in
Right.
the Marvel kind of
Exactly.
idea, because after a while, there's such a thing as movie fatigue. There's such a thing as a MCU fatigue. And finally, here goes something within the MCU that says, hey, we know what's happening here. The bubble bursts, but it bursts in a good way.
Yeah.
It giving us something else. So pretty much the Celestial went ahead and hatched, and now we're existing inside of this new Celestial. And I enjoyed that.
I hate you so
Damn
much
great
right
egg.
now.
And
You're like, I want more eggs.
yeah, give me more eggs. I'm gonna get more eggs actually with
With my ramen.
with my ramen that we're gonna
Throw
have.
it in your
Oh, come
so it
on.
explodes.
You're mad because that idiom, that little kind of analogy works out well. That's why. Come on.
Nah, I'm mad because you put the egg back in my head. It is now a 1 for the egg.
Wow. And because of that, the film itself, as a film, definitely gets a 3.5.
Okay.
Now, as far as where does it stand within the whole MCU kind of ideal, blah, blah, because it steps away and doesn't check all the boxes, yeah, it's bottom mid tier.
Right.
Alright.
For me, it's like
Need a
I
ranking board
respect
next
its ambition. I respect like its vision, and I'm excited for what it wants to bring in the future.
You know what it
Nice.
did for me too? It did what WandaVision did.
Right.
It did. We are not forced to stick into our box. So
Yes.
like I said at the beginning, like the ways it changed things for me were like the cosmic and the magic. it changed it from a filmmaking perspective in the same way that WandaVision changes it for like an MCU perspective of, oh, they're gonna just do stuff.
Right.
Do you guys think Chloe Zhao returns to tell the rest of the
I
character
don't think
stories?
so, unless it like totally flops box office wise.
Which would
She'll come
suck.
Yeah.
That would. Suck.
I mean,
I
that would
not
be
want
that would
to.
be
I hope it
extremely
doesn't-
unfortunate.
I hope it doesn't for a number of reasons. I would like to see her return on some stuff because she did have character like insight because she was like a writer on it as well. Also, like she has said she'd be interested in Star Wars. I think she'd do a cool Star Wars
I think
movie.
I agree
Well,
with
you know
that.
what?
God,
Honestly,
she'd do a great one.
to bring up Dune, I actually think Chloe Zhao would be better suited for the Star Wars universe, probably to tell those more longer form epic stories.
Right.
And Star Wars does have a better lineage of telling these longer stories because you know you're getting what you're getting
In most
into.
cases.
In
Yes,
most
in
cases,
most
yes,
cases.
in most cases. But look, don't take our word for it. Go see Eternals for yourself. It's out November 5th. Hopefully, by the time you're watching this, you've already seen the movie. If you haven't, go buy that ticket and support the show or support the movie.
Yeah.
Support small business.
Yeah, and go and check it out. Yeah, small business, right? Yeah.
Support small business, us.
Yeah, no, exactly. Come to us to support
And
small business.
Part of supporting our small business is go see the movie and then watch this.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And
Although, if you want to watch this without having seen the movie, tell all your friends to do this.
You know what?
That's
If you
totally fine.
watch
let's
this
make it a
without
thing.
seeing the movie, like tip of the hat to you, well done, because I am very sure you're confused.
Exactly. I'm sure you're like, what?
I mean, look, this is really our point of view. The Illuminerdi POV is really our point of view, and it's not an indicator whether or not you're gonna like the movie. Go and see it for yourself and make your own judgment, and then let us know on Twitter in the comment section or however you want to get in touch with us. We all have social media.
Show up at our doorstep.
Yes, Tatiana, where do you live? I'm just kidding. Tatiana, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Marcella's Ear on Twitter.
Okay.
Caitlin, where can people find you?
Caitlin_Tyrrell on Twitter.
I love that.
Super original.
Daniel, BSG.
Pretty much.
Where can people find you on Twitter?
You're just, it's all about interrupting me. I mean, you interrupted my little review.
What?
And then you
Go ahead. You have your.
BS.
Tell him,
the
Daniel.
I will. Everyone's mic is done. I'm cutting everyone's mic.
What's your Twitter?
BS Galactica. That's right.
I love that.
That's right.
Is that a
Right?
pun?
It
Well,
is.
it's
my
Battlestar,
God.
Battlestar Galactica.
And you can follow me on Joe Illuminerdi, but you can follow the Illuminerdi at _Illuminerdi on Twitter. We're dropping
forget
news
the
stories.
underscore.
Don't forget the underscore.
No.
We're dropping news stories every single day, so check that out. Thank you so much for watching this show. This is the Illuminerdi Point of View podcast / webcast, I guess we're calling this. And thank you so much. But you can please hit that like, share, and subscribe button to stay up to date with everything trending
in geek pop culture.
And let us know what movies you want us to talk about on other Illuminerdi POV episodes.
Good one.
Bye.
Bye.